And starts stuff like that. Oh, purple, new furniture. Actually, you're like, I'm not familiar. What's going on, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your man Dvs Imaad coming to you again with some Botanical Behaviors RTP. For those of you who were here for the my other show, Devious Fridays. This is a former co-host, guest of the show, somebody who I really do rely on when it comes to current events because he stays connected. And like general current event information, whatever's going on in the community, he is just a great resource. So I would like to introduce my guest today. This is Lachey. Hey everybody! What's going on, sir? How are you?
I'm doing good, beloved.
What's going on? So what are you up to these days?
Oh my God. Battling the dragon. No, not like addiction or nothing like that. You know, no next to nobody who got their own battle. But no, depression just is kind of like really been trying to kick itself back up.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to push me into a place that I'm not really giving it the energy for right now. So just been kind of battling through that, dealing with that. Looking for new work. And raising a baby. That's it.
Know what you do, what type of work you're looking for.
Right now I'm trying to get back into the school so bad. I'm just trying to do something to solidify. So I'm literally just
what you doing in the school?
I'm like a paddle professional.
Okay.
So coaching.
And that goes into two of the things that we've been talking about over the past few weeks. We've been talking. We had a guest. It wasn't last week; it was the week before. Empress Iris. Oh my gosh, she was. I mean, for those of you who remember that show, oh, Heaven's Virtual, she was amazing. And one of the things that she talked about is young black men. Well, we talked about rather young black men mental health because we don't talk about it.
Right.
We don't. Our parents don't push us to get it. Our parents don't really push us in that direction. Even when we see some of the symptoms, a lot of times our parents are. I know, but the generation before ours is very put yourself up by the bootstraps,
Right.
get yourself together, yada yada yada. And she talked about how damaging
And
those
even
are.
more than that, even more so than the parents, the community itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we always, I love that we're in a time and a space where we are finally having open conversation and discussion about mental health and how it impacts our young brothers, especially young brothers of color, because there's no venue for those conversations. There's no space, even in most households of color, where a young man has the room to complain or just vent about his emotional state of being and what he's currently going through.
Mm-hmm.
The lesson that's always taught to our young men, and it's a common, lesson that most of us know: men don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
Suck it up. Put your big boy pants on, and you got to deal with it. Everybody dealing with something. So, and that's it's unfair.
Now, why did you say, and I like that you said that it was unfair to me, but why did you choose the word unfair?
Because at the same time, we're punishing these young men or blaming these young men for not creating that space for our sisters.
Yeah.
So we say to these young, we say that as women in the community, we say to our brothers, you should be willing to listen to me when I come home. You should be willing to hear what's going on with me, and want to pay attention to that and to help me to resolve that. You should provide a space where if everybody else told me I'm ugly, I should always feel sexy and beautiful. We're literally telling to our young men the behaviors we feel that they should model and display, while simultaneously not providing them with examples or creating the space for them to model those same behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfair.
And it creates confusion. Because how do you ask me to do something that you never taught me how to do? How do you ask me to do something that you don't reinforce? How do you
hold me accountable
Thank you.
for something
Thank you.
I've never been provided a lesson or an example?
Mm-hmm. Right. Like, and frustration.
Right. Creates all kinds of frustration and confusion already, right? Within just the dynamic of male-female communication. But then we dig even further for something.
I'm sorry, before you even get to the male and female communication, it's internal.
Right.
That you have created a frustration.
A frustration.
Because you're telling me that you need me to do this, but you haven't provided any tools or foundation or example on how to do it.
For those of y'all who know me,
because this is who we need to get here. You go ahead and
y'all know my cam. This is my shadow, and he doesn't let me move far. Movie, can you go watch your tablet? You want to go watch your show? I'll be right there.
That's a star right there.
You just gotta check in.
That is a star right there. That's right.
Just go grab your tablet, okay? So where it creates that internal conflict and that question, it's like, okay, now you as the young man, you trying to navigate and figure this stuff out, you're asking yourself like, well, how do I do this? When I don't know, I don't understand these feelings, and then you're trying to navigate that within the scope of understanding your own feelings, which again, nobody is ever explaining to you, or teaching you how to deal with, right? So but there are some emotions that they will address with you and let you know about immediately, right? You get angry, we're going to talk about
angry black men,
right? You get afraid, we'll talk about fear.
You're a chicken.
So anger and fear are two things that we'll always be ready to talk about and bring up. But we'll never teach you about love, compassion, empathy, sympathy,
understanding, listening.
Little things like that.
How about that?
And by not being aware of this lack of conversation, you know what I mean, it makes us vulnerable to so much. Like I posted this same message, so to speak, the other day on my timeline where I was just saying, you know what, I'm tired of listening to black moms complain about the condition of the men in their community while simultaneously adding to the problem. And I did that purposely because, that's what social media is there to do, to troll, for clickbait. We want you to respond. We want you to say things. We want to engage in this conversation, okay? And unfortunately, we say it to you nice and polite. You don't want to join the conversation. You say you corny. Can't hear. Let me say, let's sit over there, Bob. So where we have to take it then is we have to get ugly with you. Then we got to get in a way where it gets in your feelings and now you want to explain it. So by posting this, I thought I was going to get a lot of backlash. I only maybe had 1 or 2 backlash in comments, but most people were like, yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally think you're right.
Problematic.
So it means that we're starting to be aware of the problem in the community. We're seeing what the situation is. And what's up, Cameron? Stop. Okay. Be firm. Be decisive. And they will understand. But it's really important too because it grows to be a much larger issue. Okay? It grows to be a much larger issue. And that was kind of like what I wanted to touch on. For example, you have the LGBT component of it. You have young men who grow up not only ever learning how to deal with their feelings in general, now when they hit puberty and they're having to just, how to navigate these romantic feelings and hormones that are starting to come up. We're still not teaching our young boys what to do in general. Not even young boys of color, just young boys in general. You would not see so many, young white boys, in the court behind these rape cases and these, ambiguously rape cases. They're not ambiguous. You're not teaching these young boys how to deal with that emotion and that rush and that rage that comes on when you hot and then you in the moment. And because they haven't learned that, you know what, it's okay if she said no and I need to shut down, decompress in this moment, not a problem. Masturbate when I get home, find somebody else, we'll move forward. You know what I mean? Instead, they're thinking it's an all or nothing situation every single time, every single day, every single moment. It's all or nothing. If I don't get it all in right now, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
I'm sorry, y'all. If y'all having trouble hearing me, somebody said that they were. Hopefully, this is a little bit better. Well, hearing us, is that better? Huh? Yeah, I just forgot to put the microphone in. My bad. Wanted to make sure that
we need to make the show that challenge.
I had that. Yeah. So hopefully, that'll be a little bit better for you guys. Thank you.
It really does outthrow some of my people, my high tea people.
Mm-hmm.
Throw them in here in the conversation.
Let me real quick. Louis Decree, can you hear me now? My apologies. Once again, if you guys weren't able to hear me, I need y'all to let me know. Thank you so much. I apologize. I forgot to put the other microphone in. But to everybody who's been watching, Cynthia Tucker, True Johnson, Shumaka, Sandy, I know I saw David here, Kim, Lewis, Kim Moultrie, Lewis, you guys, yes, Sean. Thank you so much. Share the video. Appreciate you guys for letting me know that you couldn't hear me. I forgot to put the microphone in. I always, whatever. But
technologies and things.
Hey, what's up?
Okay, so now, so they couldn't hear me before.
They were having trouble. Like it was low.
Okay.
So some people were,
So again, comment section. If there's anything you want me to, rephrase or go back over, I'll be more than glad to do so. But it's important. You want to come sit with me, Poop? No, he just want to be busy. He just want to be busy. Mm-hmm. I mean, he literally wouldn't let me out the house. I was literally at the door for 15 minutes fighting with this child about getting out the house. Come on, sit right here. Sit down. Don't move, okay? You're going to have a seat. See yourself? Just like when we do the video at home, okay? So you got to chill out back here with me, okay? We'll do the interview with me, okay?
Oh, I thought I just want to do.
Okay, down with me.
That's what's up.
So, and then it's important too because like what I'm learning every day, just in parenting him, like helping raise, even with him and my oldest nephew, their feelings get hurt so easily or so quickly, and sometimes we don't think about that or even perceive how okay, baby, give me just a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. So we don't perceive how our actions can impact them. You know what I mean? You can look at him and say, oh, he's 2 years old. He'll just sit down and do what you tell him to or listen to. You don't realize he comes through the door with expectations. Like he comes through the door looking to be hugged and to have, playtime and to uncle. And if I don't give him that, he's done. He's devastated for the day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We had we got into it a little bit last night. Papa, sit down. We got into it a little bit last night over food. Okay, because we're trying to expand taste buds. So remember last night you didn't want to eat your broccoli? You don't like broccoli? What do you think about broccoli? It's yucky. Mm-hmm. So I decided to try to make chicken teriyaki last night. Mm. He heard yaki, immediately associated it with yucky, and that was it. That was the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yucky. I got you. I'm with you.
Okay, I'm with you. You gotta sit down. Sit down. Sit for me. Yeah, sit for me. Thank you. Sit right there. I'll be right with you. So, and having to navigate yucky and yaki, I found myself getting very frustrated. I know. Okay, you want your french fries? Are you going to go sit down now and be good and not move? You want to say bye-bye to everybody? Say bye. I'm going to get my french fries. Take your french fries out. Go sit down in the back.
You're welcome.
So, but in having to have that navigation, I really found myself getting frustrated. And at one point, I kind of like popped this little leg, and I'm like, no, you're going to eat what I put on this food, on this table, because that's dinner. And he was done. He was devastated. Mind you, his protest continued. Like there was no, Negro, I said broccoli is yucky, and that's what I meant. I'm not eating this. So, okay, you gonna pop me? Like this is, and this is what I love about kids. They will really
If you take the time to listen and to pay attention, kids will get you together every time because they do one thing. They are willing to go to the extreme.
Yeah, they ain't got nothing else to do.
You got time to lose. You got to get to work the next day. You got to get to bed or whatever the case may be. So you're not in this fight.
No.
As long as as this child is.
Depending on the child, they can carry that on for
and they're gonna go for it on
like.
But what is that telling us? What is that telling us that we've ignored for so many other generations? Sit. I'll come get the tablet in 2 seconds. What that's telling us is, kids are more aware. Young people are more aware of themselves than we've ever given them credit for. Because they are so aware of themselves, they're able to articulate it to you if you teach them to speak well. Don't erase that or belittle that because it's not convenient for you. Or it doesn't fit into your time frame. So don't become the kind of parent that's like, you know what? Well, my son is just always crying and always whining and complaining. No, he's not. He's trying to talk to you. He's trying to tell you something. And it's super important. It is super important. And this is why I say this for not even just LGBT kids, for straight people, for straight couples, my breeder people out there. I know I try to love y'all.
For the people who watch me and haven't done the same.
I try to love y'all when
That's how he says street people.
Yes, so for the breeder community, I need you to understand this because I too am tired of domestic violence. I too am tired of turning on the TV and seeing people getting beat upside their head for no good reason. Again, this is from observation purely. I'm not a breeder. I believe the dynamic of the household is for the man to be like the male kingly of the household and the woman to be the submissive queen of the household who also shares the power in that infrastructure, right? Okay, that's the observation. If you want him to be the king and you want him to lead, he has to set the example for the house. So if he don't never want to talk about nothing, ain't nobody in the house ever going to talk about nothing. Not you and him, not him and the kids, not you and the kids. From top down, right? It trickles down. So you can't ever have one person in a situation. You can't ever just have, mom always listening to everything and responding to everything, dad never responding to it. We have to create spaces and we have to create the opportunity for young men and even older men to speak on their well-being, their mental health, their state of being, what's going on.
Now, you aware of the MBK program that Ras Baraka has?
I'm sorry. Y'all everybody and their mother got an MBK program.
Right, you know which one.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So MBK has become, for those of you who don't know, is My Brother's Keeper. Okay, it has become the code name for everybody's Adopt a Black Boy program.
Right.
You know, My Brother's Keeper. And the philosophy is great. I think it's really cute, but what are you actually keeping? What are you actually doing?
I don't know. That's why I asked you if you were familiar with it, because I know it's part of the initiative that he has where he'll like bring a speaker and have like a men's day.
They're doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff here. You and I have to talk. They're doing stuff in this building. Like they have the NCST, which is like the safe watch for the kids to make sure that safe passage, they can get to school safely and stuff like that. A lot of stuff. But yeah, the MBK, I thought it was interesting that the mayor of the city did an MBK because you and I met through an MBK, right, which was the My Brother's Keeper through NJC, not NJCI, it was Project Wow. It was at NJCRI, but I think it was like Project Wow, who was the overseer. Right. So those types of programs are kind of the programs that offer, if you will, what you're talking about. But I don't know if that's why I was asking about, did you know if they were offering that at the one through the mayor? Because if anybody does know about that, anybody on
my timeline, anybody out there in my space in the city of Newark, if you know about the MBK program, throw me some info.
Who else might know in here? Anybody? Tisha might know, maybe Iris, I'm not sure. Any of you guys know about the program?
I know that they've had talks. I haven't had an opportunity to find out exactly what the nature of the project. Maybe I'll look it up. But I thought it was interesting that what you were talking about, like these programs exist, and there are so many of them here in this city. But we don't have the marketing, we don't have the promotion, we don't have.
We're not working
social
together.
Media, right?
What exactly?
Which is my point.
Okay.
There are so many little different entities that are trying to accomplish the same objective. Like Kira noticed, because we were talking about this the last couple of weeks when we came. There's so many different entities trying to accomplish the same objective, and we get nowhere because everybody's
pulling from the same pool, and it may not necessarily be the need to do so. So I get that we all have different ways about going about stuff and wanting to provide a service or whatever to our community, but we can all agree we need to be of a service to our community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my issue with some of these programs that generate and that come about is not the intent. I think it's awesome that you want to have a program that you create for brothers to come together. But again, what is the population? What is the space? What is the intent of that? Because again, within that greater conversation and that needs to be had, especially whenever you're having a greater conversation about manhood, you have to include members of the LGBT community. And what I find a lot that happens, especially in urban environments, any environment of color, churches, and everywhere else, where you want to, where you're saying we're doing something for the men, there's an immediate exclusion of members of the LGBT community as if
we're not
as if we're no longer men, or we're not, our opinions aren't valued as a part of that conversation. And so
we have our own agenda, which a lot of people like to say.
Everybody say we have our
own agenda.
Because Lord Jesus, you ain't listened to nothing for over 20 years. This is my same issue with race. Like, if you don't ever open yourself to listen and open yourself to the possibility that everything you're saying is not right, you will never be able to truly see the full scope and full spectrum of what's going on in this world. Because, I mean, we talking about mental health now, about people of color, but I feel like that conversation only came up to help benefit a president who really don't know how to do shit else or how to talk about nothing else, because he's incited these white people to go out here and start shooting up people of color.
Well, in a lot of circles, you're absolutely right. A lot of people weren't talking about mental health, period.
This wasn't the topic
until and the duality of talking about mental health at this period in history is that we have a mentally ill president, and we have people out in the world who are mentally ill who thinks that he's right and continue and go and do the things that he can't do personally, but he incites it. So it becomes, it's like the blind leading the blind. You have the mentally ill inciting the mentally ill. And I don't even know if these people are mentally ill or they just fucking racist and they just want to go. Because there was this video that I came across. I think it's saved in my phone. If I get an opportunity, go on my page. I'll look for it later. I'm going to try to find out where I stored it and post it later. There's this white kid. They ended up arresting this kid because he was out in the woods. He had a gun. He's out there. There's a box of Jordans. And he's like, this is black people. And this is what I think of black people. And he started shooting at the box of Jordans. So I don't know who it was who saw the video and turned him in, but bravo. Thank you for being a human.
Because he's like an elected official's
son or something. He's a politician's kid.
He's a politician.
So he didn't get this arbitrarily. It's not like they talk about this in the house. You can be like his father. It's not like his father doesn't know that this is a possibility.
So here's my thing now.
Or mother.
Here's my thing now. And the white people are going to like me today.
Okay.
My white friends are going to like me today. I am an albino ally today.
You have white friends?
I don't. Oh. But I have them on Facebook.
I have white family.
I have white Facebook friends. So okay. I'm sure they'll appreciate
it. Oh, well, that, yeah.
I'm not going to blame the parents anymore. Okay. And here's why I'm not going to blame parents anymore. The United States have effectively taken parents out of parenting. Mm-hmm. So you don't get to discipline your child. Mm-hmm. You don't get to review what your child is watching. Mm-hmm. You just set up parental controls and everything else, and the computers and everything else will take them out. So for argument's sake, for all of my albino Americans and all of my, mayonnaise people there, I am going to support you today. It is not your fault. You have always had piss poor parenting. Most of us have raised your kids for you for over generations, but that's another conversation. The issue is we're not addressing the content. We're not addressing the content, and we're not teaching the kids what to do with the content, right? So here's the thing. I'm okay with someone hating me. Understand why I'm okay with someone hating me. At 33 years of life, I have lived in a world where every single day I have woken up to someone hating me. So I've never not lived a day where someone didn't hate me.
For no reason.
For no reason that I can explain whatsoever. No logical reason. Yeah. So you hating me is completely fine. I can totally accept that position from you. Mm-hmm. The only problem we have is your hate leads to violence, right? That's the major component here. You don't have to like me. You don't have to agree with me. You don't ever have to. None of that is necessary for us to coexist. No. But a basic respect for life and the common agreement that, you know what, I don't have to end you in order for us to not agree. I don't have to completely wipe you out and obliterate you to, make my statements valid or to make my positions valid. I just have to be a better human being. And unfortunately, we're in a space and time where nobody wants to be the bigger or the better human being. You want to have, every time we have a conversation about race in this country, you have white Americans who want to stand up and say, well, I didn't do that. So why should I pay? Why should I be held accountable for what these people did hundreds and hundreds of years ago? You're absolutely right. That's a valid point. I can totally concur. I'm not going to hold you accountable for what people have done decades and hundreds of years ago. I'm going to hold you accountable for what you do every day. Remain completely silent and complicit in systems that benefit you, even though you're completely aware that your participation in those systems is unfair. That's completely, I think that's completely valid of me. I don't think that's, invalid or anything that should lead anybody to be upset. I'm totally okay with you benefiting from what you've benefited from. Again, I've never, not 33 years of life, I've never woken up in a world where that wasn't a reality. Can you wake up in my reality? Can you accept what that looks like? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, all these mass shootings and all that other shit, that's just something else that people of color have to put in their umbrella. You know what I mean? All the people in that region of Mexico, El Paso, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, all of that is, if you've lived anywhere near the fucking region, is Mexico. Let's just be real. Okay, the line blur is ridiculous. The kids at high school don't eat regular American diets. They eat Tejano diets or Tex-Mex. Okay, whatever.
You said Tex-Mex.
You get tired of educating the kids because certain stuff like they should just be aware of. Like in 2019, with access to YouTube, access to the real world, just if you have half of a damn brain and you can spell okay. Because autocorrect will even correct the fucking spelling for you. So if you can just get an idea of what you want to look up, you can find a lot of knowledge out there. And if you're only looking into things that reinforce your own opinions, then of course that's,
Now let me say what's up to a couple of people. Kiata, Yvonne, Iris, you guys, there were some comments and we got into the conversation, so I didn't get a chance to read your comments, but Kiata mentioned something about the rec and the drug bust at the rec center, and she also mentioned something about the intent of the programs, because intent on this, and this is a very I love this statement. She said intent on paper gets funded, but then execution is always faulty. So there are a lot of people who get starter programs and they don't get a chance to expand the program to its full potential because they don't have people. Right, exactly. They don't have people in development to go ahead and push those programs and continue to get funding and expand the program and all the rest of these things.
So, or give me your long view. Okay, so you tell me you want to have an MBK program in the city. What is this program meant to address? What are we trying to address? Because if we're just going to address the needs of young men of color, okay, so that means, are we creating a standalone building? Are we creating a resource center? Is this going to be a program where these young men can come to a location and receive mental health services, receive employment services, receive reentry, programs if that's what's necessary. Receive entry into educational program, receive that kind of funding. If that's what we're doing, where is that space at? Why isn't the city more informed that this is a resource that's available to them? Why isn't this something that we're literally pulling? Every Black church should know about this. Every Black church within the city realms, if this is the community and the population that you're seeking to reach out to, should be informed and notified.
For those of you who are a part of a house of worship and are connected to veins in the city where this information is available, are they announcing these types of things at your house of worship? Or are you bringing them? If they're not, are you letting the people who are in not power, but I'm gonna call them trusted servants, and those of you who know what that is,
even more so,
the people who are entrusted in trusted positions around your religious institutions, are you making them responsible for bringing you this information?
And I'll challenge you even further. As a community of color, we are composed of many religions, many practices, right? But we can all agree that those practices have one thing in common: love thy neighbor. And we can all agree that those practices are designed to take care of the community in some shape, form, or fashion, right? So if we can respect those two elements alone, I don't have to be a Christian. I don't have to be, Islamic to come together with you. We all know that we meet on Sundays. Why can't we announce, whatever your day of worship is, why can't it be announced then, like, hey, don't forget every third Tuesday the MBK meeting is going down. We expect all of the brothers from this house of worship to show up. We are not showing up for one another.
We isolate.
Isolate and create pockets of.
Yeah, which is what we're talking about, trying to build these bridges together, because you might have that men's day at your church, but are you inviting the Muslims down the street? Are you inviting the Jewish synagogue from the next county over? Even though you know who the rabbi is and you know who the imam is.
Because your community already knows that needs to be addressed. And wherever the program, I find this, like wherever the program starts from or out of home, those are a group of people who already came together and see that action needed to be taken.
The interfaith committee. There are a lot of interfaith committees, and it should be brought to the interfaith committee so that this information can be expanded.
The schools, the high schools, the middle schools, the elementary schools.
That should be extra credit.
It should be
show up to stuff like that.
Right.
Why is that not extra credit? You go and bring the program, and we gonna sit in this civics class, a history class, because you're making history, or an English class, or whatever it is.
What do we do? Well, they gave all that money to their brother over at West Side. I mean, he doing it. I send my son over there.
There's so much more work to do.
So much more work.
Like, you think that's the solution?
So much more work.
That $500,000?
That right there.
It was a wonderful thing.
That's what you call beta testing. That's what brother has done over at Westside High School, has set the framework and example for what we should be doing in our public education. Not only across not across this city, this state, but across this country. This brother has sat and provided a live experiment where you can sit and look, and I hate to use the word experiment, but if you really look at it, he's provided a live experiment, a live presentation, a live space where you can see the benefits of these choices, the benefits of these behaviors. It's not like he's just throwing it out there where it can't be observed. You can see for yourself that he increased attendance in school. He decreased kids being shot and killed after school because of small, minor changes in his program and what he's doing every day.
He paid attention. And then, not only did he pay attention, he addressed what he found. A couple of simple things. You have to be willing to pay attention to the kids. Be they the kids in your home, the kids in your community, the kids in your school, the kids in wherever. You have to be willing to pay attention. That's what he did. He noticed that the kids weren't coming to school because they didn't want to be laughed at because their uniforms were dirty.
Because you have to also understand too, and this ties in with our conversation on mental health. Once you become an adult and your brain has become fully developed, all of the traumas that you have experienced up until that point, you're generally pretty well informed on how to go forward with life, right? Unless some major traumatic event, like, someone dies in front of you or something like that, you have an accident, then, that might change your framework. But for the most part, most of the traumas that inform your life happen when you're younger. That's why when you go to the, to see a mental health professional, the first thing they want to talk about, let's talk about your childhood, right? Because you can uncover so much there, so much that happens there. So we have to ask ourselves again, in the greater conversation of how we're teaching our kids, how we're working with our kids, how we're guiding our young people. What are we doing as a nation? When young kids can go to school and be denied a meal because of a food balance of whatever, or not provided free lunch, but we're able to provide 3 square meals a day to someone who's incarcerated, what does that say about us as a nation? I mean, I'm not saying that, oh, put them in jail and don't feed them. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm saying at all. But if we can work out that that's a necessary part of that budget, how has it never worked out that feeding your child throughout this part of their life, when they're in their youngest development, how is that not our number one priority?
But if you don't send your child to school, they come to your house.
Then they want to come to your
arrest you.
house.
In some states, they want to arrest you now. I think it's California.
Food,
Some of them for truancy and stuff like that.
You guys will be amazed what food scarcity looks like. You will be amazed that your kids may go to school with students right now that don't eat anything all weekend long. Like the only meal they're going to get is when they get to school. And imagine being that child. Imagine what that does to your psyche already. You're tired, you're drained, you're hungry. You want to, you want to run around and play. You don't got no energy to run around and play. Now you're depressed because everybody around you is eating, having fun, lighting up. You thinking about what's going on at home. How can you ask that child to perform at school? How can you ask that child to learn?
How can you ask anybody who has to go through that? You could be a full-grown adult. You don't eat all weekend and you come into work on Monday. How evil are you going to be? How much work are you going to get done?
But we do this to our babies. We do this to our kids.
And a lot of them don't have the skills to articulate, I need, or this is what's going on, and this is why I can't, yada, yada, yada. These are babies. Some of y'all don't know how to say that. They got commercials that say, here, somebody is telling you, you need to eat something because you're not chewing, you hungry. Somebody else is telling an adult that in the commercial, but you expect the kids to figure this out and know why they're not performing at the level that. That's why some of them don't perform well. This is what's going on at home. I'm sorry.
And these babies are having to take that home. Imagine being the eldest, okay? Now you're the
you
eldest,
feel responsible,
and you got siblings at home. So now, not only are you not eating when you regularly should, but when you do get something to eat, you're now trying to hoard and keep a little bit to the side to give to your younger siblings because you feel that guilt of responsibility. This is the constant circle of depression that I'm noticing and seeing and observing play itself out in our community. And I'm seeing everybody in them, mother jump up to yell, "Go, we gotta, make sure the queens feel loved and respected." If you are a Black woman and you are in the Black community, I'm sorry, I love you dearly. But everything from Dear Mama to Mama's Day to Easter to any damn good God-given day is normally put towards making sure your mama is all right. Happy wife, happy life, I'm sure, is a comment that came out of Black homes. Because my grandfathers and all the men in my life, their number one priority was always making sure that their women were okay. The women in my life were always firm, strong, and the head of their household. So I've never not seen a woman that way. I've never, feminism was weird to me because I'm like, what do you need to protest for? I've never not seen you as an equal. It was a completely foreign concept to me.
Yeah.
Because, that it didn't exist and there was no need for it in my house.
Like, what are y'all talking about?
But again, I'm not going to, I'm not trying to, I am, I guess, in an aspect trying to.
No, at that time you didn't understand what it was about. Now you understand things like the value that you're not getting it.
And I think that the larger issue isn't so much about you not receiving respect as much as it is that we are not creating, as a community as a whole, we are not creating better and safer spaces for us to converse among one another. We're just not doing it. We're not doing it as far as addressing, because we haven't learned how to address our anger as men, we fail at addressing one another properly. We get into a conversation with us, all right, disagree once. I might let a little jab slide once. You get one or two of those in the male on male conversation before y'all at blows over the dumbest shit.
Well, it's not just male conversations; it's women.
But
a female conversation can go twisted
left, right, quick,
hard. Like what?
But I like even in my experience, like I am a very easy person to get along with. I cannot have a conversation with a straight gentleman without it ever being some kind of challenge to testosterone.
It is.
And it's just like, dude, what the
And you know what? I'm sorry to interject here, but it was just thinking, I was talking about it with a friend of mine because, a lot of times I'll go out, and this happened to me. I was, in the park Sunday. We were walking. Shout out to the women that she is. We went walking in the park as part of a Better Health initiative. And, you meet people, and, I gave this, there's a brother there, I gave him the salams. And he said back, peace. Now, there was a Muslim sister that he had just salammed right in front of me who was this close to me. And you turn to me and you go, peace, after I gave you the whole salam situation. And you know that I'm Muslim because you know that I am. What's that? and I get that often. I get it's a whole bunch of people in the house community who do it. Like every now and then they get on their little, what's up? Any other time you got a salam for me. When you feel like, I don't know, maybe it's the outfit, like if I got on a kilt or something.
I love that, like, my brothers know I'm breaking that shit up. So, like, I had a good friend who I haven't seen since high school, actually. Mm-hmm. And I was walking down the street from the store with a crop top on, like, and I seen him, like, with him and his homies, and they hard, trying to be all hard down the street. But he looked at me, and because of what we've shared as brothers, this is my line brother. Because of what we shared as brothers, it was immediately, nah, bro, you dapping me up and giving me, this hug. Like, I don't care. And I looked this man's in them up and down like, no, we ain't doing that. Like, this is my brother. I'm not going to let you guys make this anything other than, or make this a situation where I have to put on any airs. This is my brother. Mm-hmm. And we should be able to address each other as men, as brothers. We should be able to come to each other and hug one another. We should be able to express affection with one another. Right. We should be able to really be there for one another without it being made to be something
sexual. Because that's all it boils down to for most people is you thinking about what I do sexually or what you think I do sexually. That's all it boils down to. That's all right. And the other thing that there was another thought that I wanted to finish in that same regard, but please know that I'm paying attention. Bubble Nelson, shout out, what's up to you, and everybody else, Mo Clark, everybody else who joined us. Much love and appreciation. I want to thank y'all for joining us here once again. There was, you said you were speaking about the young boy that had real men in their thoughts. If you want to finish that thought, Mr. Nelson, I'd appreciate it because I would like to respond to it. But yeah, we really do have to pay attention to the things that we are saying to people, the things that we are conveying when we are speaking to people. Like I said earlier, there are people who, for some reason, you caught up in thinking your mind is always on what you think I am, or how you think I behave, or what certain actions you think I take, because those are the only things that would differentiate me from any of them. But conversely, I have people, men in my life, who walk up to me in a crowded room full of friends of theirs that they've never met, and will walk up to me and kiss me on my cheek and grab me and hug me and be like, "I love you. Where have you been?" You know what I'm saying, like that. So I have, I'm not without. It's just funny to me that there are people who honestly think that like your manhood is challenged because you speak to me or you salam me or some bullshit like that. If your manhood is that fragile, that salamming me is gonna make it. And the thing is, if I salam you, I get the blessing. If you don't, you don't. So I'm gonna be blessed either way. But like I said, conversely, I got brothers who walk up to me all the time, straight. they do is talk about pussy, but I'm like, okay, but I get it.
I get it.
I get it. I get it. You straight. I get it. Jesus fucking Christ. I get it. But and at the same time, they walk up to me, kiss me on the cheek, hug me, like, man, my brother, stuff like that. So,
I don't want my brothers to be any different. I don't want them to be. If that's what your conversation is going to be, that's what your conversation is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to get me to join it because clearly I'm not here to join. I don't have anything to add to the situation. But
I'll listen for
I'll help you get one if that's what it takes. There are ways for us to bond.
Right, like I like the superhero shit that you like to go watch. Let's go to the. I'm serious, y'all be making a whole lot of stuff.
We can go paintballing. We can go bowling or whatever. Like we can be brothers. We can be men, and we can be there for one another and create spaces for one another. That I honestly think will help many of us to exist better within our communities. First of all, if you as a man have a space that you can go somewhere to vent and get this shit off your chest with no judgment and just, the brothers gonna understand. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have this release. It may improve your relationships at home or your relationships with females and other people in your life because you're now not holding all of that in and keeping that pent up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You may not necessarily have to always put it into the gym or fighting or something physical. Find other ways to address your concern. We should, as brothers, explore yoga together and explore, meditation and all of these other things. We need to stop judging brothers or saying, oh, that's gay because you want to try something different. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have to stop making us being vulnerable something that's taboo.
And stop assigning gender roles to inanimate fucking things like. It's not to go and exercise or walk or do Pilates or something like that. Like, whatever works. It really is that simple. But y'all be taking it to somewhere. Yeah, Tiba said mental cleansing. Yeah, that's the whole community.
So I tell people all the time, I will tell you in a minute, I'm taking a mental health day, which means my phone goes on Do Not Disturb. For however long I choose to have it on that period. Mm-hmm. Phone goes on Do Not Disturb. If I choose to answer a text message, it's because I've chosen to. Mm-hmm. If I choose to address anything that day, it's because I've chosen to. Mm-hmm. But when I declare Mental Health Day, there is nothing there that is going to be done this day to compromise me and my mental space. Mm-hmm. No will most likely be the answer. Mm-hmm. And if that is something that is going to disturb or upset you, talk to me about it tomorrow. Today I'm on a mental health day. I don't really give a shit. I'm not here to we have to stop making ourselves available for other people to control us in certain spaces. Okay? So another one really chief place that this plays itself out with a lot is the mom-son relationship. Don't get me started. Especially in communities of color. Oh, God. And again, it's unfortunate. I'm gonna say that a lot more dads are staying at home. I'm seeing timelines pop all over with pictures of men wanting to stay home with their kids. So I do see a change coming. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, most of us did grow up without our dads. They weren't there. Not only black kids, white kids fucking too. Because if you look up the research and all that shit, these mass shooters that's going on. Every single one of these little fuckers that's out here thinking that they, in Call of Duty shooting up malls and shit, they come from broken homes too. Their dads are not there either. So don't think that this is just a problem that affects black kids. White daddies ain't at home either. This is an income level situation, right? Not a black or white thing.
How about that?
But with these dads not being present, you get these dynamics that are just fucking horrible. Where you have the single mom who, if she's a strong woman and she's a woman who's done the work and worked through her shit, she's not blaming herself for the relationship ending. She understands, or the kid. She understands that that's just the natural phase of life. Mm-hmm. She's going on to do better, get into a better relationship, have better for her and the kids. However, that is the exception to the rule. That is not the goddamn guarantee. Because the larger majority of you, are out there having problems setting boundaries. Okay? You want to make your children your babies for life. Oh, this my baby, oh, my baby. This nigga is 33 with 4 gun charges, man. He is not your baby at all. They caught him with 2 bricks under that car. That is not your baby. I'm gonna need you to stop. Okay? Because they do that. Oh, my baby. He can't do nothing wrong. That's my baby.
You are crippling your kids.
Okay? You cripple them all the time.
You are crippling
them all the
your
time.
sons.
Or he come in the house, you know what I mean? He done broke up with a little girl or whatever, because, well, what y'all break up with? No, she didn't want to do this. Some shit that was completely stupid and that he needed to be corrected. It was a teaching moment for him. But instead of you allowing it to be a teaching moment for him, mom, favorite thing they do, but you know what, baby, fuck her, because you know these little heifers out here is trifling. No, because what you're now doing, ma'am, is creating the dynamic for your son to think that whenever he encounters a woman being assertive for herself or making clear who she is and what her choices are.
That's not doing what you want.
That's not doing what he wants. That, oh, she's a bitch, she's a this, she's to be disrespected, she's to be no. She's her own person. And if that's not what she wanted to do, it's not a must that she had to do that for you.
Yvonne Harris said, she says this all the time, and I think, who was it, Nunu, I think also said this to me one time, that a lot of parents, they raise their daughter, they're raising daughters and loving their sons. You understand what that means? Does everybody understand what that means?
Society's doing that.
Right, but that is a continuation. It's a continuation through society and the parents.
And
it is a combined effort.
But the girls are doing it to themselves too.
That's very true. I mean,
the girls are doing it to themselves
because they've been taught. But after a while, and this is something that I speak to everybody. I say to everybody, and this isn't for a man, woman, chick, nor child. It's for everybody. Once you become aware, you become responsible. Once you become aware that there is a problem in your life, you become responsible for fixing the problem. Once you become aware that there is a better way to live, you become responsible for bringing that better way to live into fruition in your life. Once you become aware that there is something better for you in any vein, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, you're responsible for getting that done in your life. Once you're aware, you're responsible for everything in your life. There's nobody else to blame. Yeah, your parents may have messed you up from the beginning. They could have did X, Y, and Z for the first 20 years of your life. 21 years is on you. 21 years, you say, oh, my parents did X, Y, and Z. They messed me up, yada, yada, yada. I need help. As soon as you say I need help, you're aware. And at that moment, you become responsible. So there is no more the 40-year-old, my parents, yada, yada, da, 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 da. No. There's no age on it. All flowers don't bloom at the same time. Once you become aware, you're responsible.
And not only that, but like...
Ooh, I'm sorry. I just looked down and saw that Atiba page put, she's building a permanent roommate. No woman or man will want them.
But understand that's the goal.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's the goal. Because mama hasn't made peace with the fact that she doesn't have a man and she's alone. She's not out properly investing that time into doing the work on herself and putting herself out there again to find something bigger and better. Oh, I'm going to raise a better man than what's out there. I'm going to correct the problem with all the men that I was out there dating by raising this one to be better than. You can't do that because you don't know how.
You don't know what
you don't even know how you don't even know the recipe that created the man that you went out here and made this one with. Because that's what you thought was a man. Let's be clear. See, breeders always take me to it.
Hold on.
Let's be clear.
Go ahead.
Okay? You laid down with the daddy, okay? Because you thought the daddy was the man. And that's why you popped back and did all the skeet boot and all this snapping babble, and you made this little fucker. Because you thought his daddy was the man. When daddy left your ass in there and you had to bring his ass into the world by itself, you now had to research your definition of what man is. So now daddy ain't a man. And because he ain't shit, right?
Yeah, they ain't.
Because you and him ain't get along, you don't respect him.
But he was the
He's
shit when
not
he was
able.
beating it up though.
Right.
He was the shit.
Come on.
He was the shit then.
When you was making this man,
ain't
he
shit.
was the man, okay? So now,
Rip it up like this.
everything that you do from that day forward, you're now doing because you don't want him to be like his daddy. First of all, that ain't your place. His relationship with his father don't got nothing to do with you. Zilch shit to do with you. The man that he is going to grow up and to become, you can guide, you can teach, you can do all that you want to, but you will not be able to develop the man that he comes into to being. We have to wake up to this fact because I'm telling you, it's killing us out here. It's killing us out here. Even me as a young man, I went out searching for a deeper connection with other men in my life. You know what I mean? My coaches, my uncles. That's how it rose. Oh, you ready to go? Okay. We almost
done. Absolutely.
You want to say hi to everybody again? Get out my shirt. Okay. So, got to do better. Just hold ourselves more accountable because these little ones need it, right? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's something that and this is just the final thing that I want to say in regard to what Lashae was just talking about. When you get a person, and there's a guy that I follow on Facebook. His name is Ace Metaphor. This dude he's very interesting to me. I'm not going to advocate for him or against him. I'm going to say check him out if you want to know this reference point. So he did a video and he did several videos. Just about every video he does is on relationships, either with yourself, somebody else, breaking up, yada, yada, yada. And what he said in one video, he was talking about the damage that you do when you enter a relationship and you are broken. The damage that you do when you encounter somebody and you don't know what you want. When you encounter somebody and you don't know who you are. When you encounter somebody and you don't know as much about you as you should know before you get into a relationship. You damage people. And if there is a person, man or woman, who gets into a relationship and they are already damaged because there were things that happened to them when they were little, you have to remember that they were raised by somebody who probably had that same type or another type of damage from when they were growing up. I'm talking about generational trauma. I'm talking about the perpetuation of this trauma that you were dealing with, that we are dealing with now, and have no idea that we're dealing with from our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents. And then we compound it because we haven't talked about mental health. We haven't talked about how to deal with depression and anxiety. We haven't talked about the trauma of not having a man in the home to talk to about what happens when your dick get hard. We haven't talked about the trauma of what happens when the boys at school are bullying you and you can't come home and tell your mother, but she's the only adult in the house. We haven't talked about the trauma of walking to school through the bad neighborhood that you live in and the boys over there keep trying to get you to come over there and you don't know what to do. Your mama taking you to church on Sunday, but they right here during the week. We're not talking about it. Janine Bass said, I've always said that she said that I am a mother and I can't raise a man. It was imperative that meant to men that my son, to have men that my son could mirror. Lisa Goldberg Tate said, thank you so much. Find yourself trying to